Guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be about how I weaned my kids off of the boob, off of breastfeeding. I have 3 kids. If you guys are new to my channel, I have 3 girls, and I breastfed for a whole year, exclusively breastfed for a whole year for each of them. If you see me kind of like glancing, it's because the baby's asleep. She's gonna wake up soon, but I really wanted to get this video filmed because it's been 48 hours since Mavis has nursed, and she turned 1 on Saturday, and today is Thursday. I'm going to talk about the process that I did with her because it's the freshest in my mind, and then I will give you guys some backstory on my first 2 daughters and how I weaned them, which is very similar, but they do have some differences, and I'll go into that a little more in depth. So the first thing that I did with Mavis is when she turned 11 months, I started weaning her from 1 nursing session. So at that point, her routine was nursing to sleep at nap time. At that time, she was napping 3 times a day, and then she was also nursing randomly throughout the day. If she was teething or if she was just being cranky, I would just, you know, give her the boob a little bit and it would chill her out. And then she would also nurse to sleep at bedtime in my bed every night, and then she would just nurse throughout the night if she wanted to. Sometimes she'd nurse once, sometimes she'd nurse 3 times. We didn't really have a schedule. That's honestly the nice thing about breastfeeding for me. I was so happy that I didn't have to get up throughout the night to make bottles and to feed her and to sit up or anything. I would literally like have my boob out like the whole night, and she would just nurse or not nurse, and we would both sleep, and that was great. So yes, breastfeeding is difficult all in itself, but also it's difficult because they're very dependent on you and all of that, but it made it so much easier for me because I didn't have to make bottles, I didn't have to buy formula, I didn't have to worry about, you know, any of that ever. When we would leave the house, all I needed was like an extra pair of clothes for her and some diapers and wipes. That was the positive for me. Obviously, all the health benefits is something else, and you guys can research that if you don't know, but that's what made my life easier. I felt like it was worth it, as opposed to, you know, the negatives behind that, you know, the time thing. I stay home with them too, so it was easier for me than it is for people that don't stay home, for women that don't stay home. So that was her routine for breastfeeding. It was pretty much a free-for-all and at all nap times. So when she turned 11 months, I started weaning her from 1 nap. So I would take about 3-4 days of consistently not nursing for 1 nap. So I started with the morning nap, 3-4 days, then I moved on to the second nap, 3-4 days, and then I started with the third nap, 3-4 days. So at about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, she was weaned from all of her nap nursing. I would just rock her. So I would just make sure she ate really well and she like drank her water and she had her food right before nap, change her diaper, and I would just rock her in the rocking chair and put her to sleep. I would even say like maybe 2 times she got really upset and like I had to stand up with her and really like soothe her and rock her and bounce her, but other than that, it was great. Ramses was actually here in one of those, in the beginning times for those nap times. He had like days off, so he helped me for like 2 days where I didn't even have to rock her, so she got used to just being rocked to sleep pretty easily. So yeah, so at about a week and a half, going on 2 weeks, she was totally good, falling asleep without the boob, rocking her to sleep without the boob. So after that, I took about 3-4 days to not nurse her throughout the day randomly. So those were throughout the day. If she was fussy or if she was teething or anything like that, I would nurse her, but that was the next thing after the 2 weeks. So I ended up just finding ways to distract her. So if we were sitting on the couch and I saw that it was like triggering her and she was kind of like wanting to nurse, I would like take her outside, or I would go to a different room, or I would let her climb the stairs, and you know, obviously I'd be behind her. I'd do things that I knew would distract her and that she likes to do. So that was key, just finding ways to distract her and just get her away from like wanting to nurse, because a lot of the time nursing at this point is just for soothing. It's not because she wanted to eat, not because she was hungry. So I would say at about 2.5 weeks, all I had left was nighttime. So nighttime is the hardest, and it was the hardest for us with Mavis. So since she was so used to sleeping in her room now for naps and being rocked to sleep, we started doing that. So Ramses took that over, and he puts her to bed, rocks her to sleep in her room at bedtime after we do baths and all that, and he puts her to sleep. She falls asleep just fine. So the first 3 nights, and he rocked her to sleep, put her in bed, and at the 2-hour mark, consistently, she would wake up. So this is where it was the hard part. So he would get up with her, try to rock her back to sleep, lay her down, and she would wake up. And it happened multiple times. So finally, the first couple of days, I was like, okay, just bring her to the bed. I would try to pat her. I would try to lay with her. I would try to, you know, everything but nursing her, and it was a disaster. She was screaming, she was throwing a tantrum, she was just so distressed, like so sad. So finally I would just give in. I would nurse her, and then I nursed her throughout the night if she woke up. So then the second night I did it again, because it happened again, the same routine. She woke up after the 2 hours, she would not go back to sleep, so I nursed her and nursed her a couple times throughout the night again. So by the third night I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't keep doing this. Like she's just gonna keep, you know, feeling like this is the new routine now. So I did nurse her to sleep after she woke up after the first 2 hours. And then when she woke up in the middle of the night, I would just pat her and like shush her to sleep. And she would cry and whine a little bit, but it wasn't as bad as when she woke up in her bed after the 2 hours. Like, and then we would try to bring her to the bed and put her to sleep. She was like full on tantrum. So then I did that for 2 nights. I would nurse her and then pat her to sleep if she woke up. So we're continuing this until about Monday. I was still nursing her, and Ramses was trying different things where he was trying to rock her and then bring her to the bed and try to lay her down in the bed instead of in the crib, and then she would still wake up. So we were kind of struggling at this point, trying to get her to stay asleep without nursing. So at this point I was like, you know what? It was Tuesday. This is, you know, the Tuesday after the Saturday where she already turned a year old. So I was like, you know what? I need to just stick it out and see what happens one whole night. And I know she's going to be upset. She's going to cry. So literally all night I was just like rocking her. I would sit up with her in the bed. I would rock her. Ramses would rock her. I would hold her. She would be up and just awake for a while, and then she would fall asleep for 2 hours. She would wake up. I would rock her. It was kind of like a cycle. Like every like 2 hours I would be up with her, kind of patting her, rocking her, laying with her, like trying to do anything I could. She did have a few tantrums throughout the night, but you know, just getting up with her and just kind of distracting her and, you know, talking to her and trying to just get her through the night however we could was the goal. So that was Tuesday night, and I made it. I made it through the night. She did not nurse, but it was a rough night. And then last night, Ramses worked overnight, so I was home by myself with the kids, and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna rock her to sleep, put her in her crib. She fell asleep. It was great. After 2 hours, she woke up like clockwork. I brought her to the bed, and I was like fully prepared to have another like crazy night. And I like lay her down. I actually like sat up with her in the bed. I was kind of like leaning on my bed, and I was just kind of patting her, and she was like falling asleep, and then she kind of rolled to the side. I laid her down, and she stayed asleep. I was like afraid to move because I didn't want to like trigger her. So she stayed asleep. She that was at about 10 because she went to sleep at about 8. So she woke up at 10. Then she came to I brought her to the bed. She stayed asleep. At 3 a.m. she woke up. I like just patted her. She like sat up. She was kind of like, you know, fussing a little. I like laid her down. I like cuddled with her. She fell back to sleep at 3 and then didn't wake up till 6, which is usually when she wakes up in the morning. So that was night 2. So after just one rough night, the next night it was great. Okay, so now I'm gonna just talk to you guys about how it was different with the other girls. So like I said in the beginning, it was the same process. They were all breastfed exclusively for the full year. So that means like no bottles, no nothing, just straight from the tap. So when I tried with my first daughter, she was just the easiest for everything, potty training, weaning, everything. And so when I did this the first time with my first daughter, I started at 11 months, and I started with 1 nap, then the next nap, still you know, breastfeeding randomly throughout the day, still breastfeeding at night, and all that. And then I actually introduced her to formula, and I started giving her formula with whole milk, and she liked it. I didn't have any problem with that with her. She liked the bottle I gave her. Made it super easy. She took a bottle. Then after she turned a year, I gave her a sippy cup. She liked that sippy cup that I gave her. I was giving her whole milk at that point, no more formula. And then she honestly just weaned herself from the sippy cup in like the sense that like I would just give it to her for naps and like nighttime. And just after, I want to say she was about 14-15 months, I would give it to her. She would take the sippy cup with the milk, but then when I would get her after her nap, it would be full. So I just stopped giving it to her and she was fine. So I didn't have a problem weaning her from sippy cups or anything like that. So that was my first daughter. And then my second daughter, she didn't like any milks, any formula. At that point, we were not drinking whole milk anymore with my second daughter. So I tried giving her like almond milk and different formulas and, you know, things like that. She did not like anything. She did not like any bottles. She did not like any sippy cups. She didn't like anything. She just refused everything. They did, though, both of them take pacifiers. Mavis does not take a pacifier. She will like chew on a pacifier or suck on a pacifier like here and there, but she doesn't like full on use a pacifier. So I follow the same process with her, just rocking her for naps, doing one nap at a time, and then doing the daytime, and then the nighttime was last. She didn't like any bottles or milks or anything, so that was like a little bit harder, that I felt like I needed to like give her more food and like make sure she was drinking water. That is very similar to Mavis. Mavis does not like any kind of milks, not even out of the straw. She does drink out of a straw, but she doesn't like any other kinds of milks that I've tried to give her. Though I did not try to give Mavis any formula. I don't know, I just honestly didn't really want to spend the money. Like I felt like I was just going to give it to her. Even if she did like it, I was going to only be able to give it to her for the month, and then we would have to like take her off of it. You know, usually it's only recommended for till they're a year. So I didn't try any formula, but she didn't like almond milk. She didn't like chocolate almond milk. You know, we don't do dairy milk, so, and also like she didn't like any bottles. She doesn't really like any sippy cups. I do give her a sippy cup here and there. I was trying to give it to her for like a week just to get her used to like sucking on a sippy cup. Like if you give your kids bottles, like they understand how they work. They understand they have to put them in their mouth and they have to tip back like this. But like my kids did not get that. They drink from a straw and they drink from the tit. So like it was just, you know, that motion to where they would like lay down and drink from something. So she doesn't get like the sippy cup thing. Like I have to kind of tip it for her, and she's like, okay, like she'll take a couple drinks but doesn't prefer it. She prefers just drinking from a straw. So that was the same situation with her and with my second born. Literally with Sissy, we had to cold turkey her similar to Mavis, and just like if she woke up during the night, Ramses would just get up with her. If I try to rock her or I try to soothe her, she would be pissed. She would like throw a tantrum. So that was the same situation with Mavis. But the thing is, we weaned Sissy, we were living with my mom and we were all sleeping in the same bed, so we didn't have the option to like put her in a crib or anything like that, like we do now with Mavis, at least for a few hours, and then bring her to the bed. So, but yeah, so it took, I want to say, I remember it took about 2 nights that she like woke up, and Ramses would have to get up and like rock her and stuff, and then he would just put her in the bed and she would stay asleep. It was a little different because Mavis was getting like at least the initial feeding, and then throughout the night I wouldn't feed her for the last 2 nights, but then I had to just cold turkey her. But it only took her 1 night of just, I mean, pretty much the whole night it was just like torture. And I was just rocking her, standing up with her, playing with her, just trying to get her through the night, and she made it. So with Sis, like I said, I don't remember it being as hard with Sissy. So yeah, I feel like she's definitely our most stubborn kid. So she wants to touch the tripod so bad. Why? She literally just like goes like this. Like touches it. It's like just because she knows she can't touch it, she wants to touch it. Okay, good job. Okay, great. Awesome. We got that out of our system. Here's your cracker. So yeah, I mean, if you guys are thinking about weaning and all that, I mean, I understand a lot of people like wait until they're ready. I know some people think that they're just going to be ready and then just one day get off the boob. And some do and some don't. And I've had plenty of conversations with moms on like how I need to like wean them. Like, it's a very personal choice. So I'm not saying that I'm not saying that at a year you have to wean. Of course not. It's definitely something that I was proud of, being able to breastfeed them for a full year. I did feel more pressure with my last two to wean than I did with her, because when I weaned my first daughter, I was 7 months pregnant. So I like breastfed her for 7 months of my pregnancy, because I was 5 months postpartum when I got pregnant with my second daughter. So I felt like I was done. I needed a break. I was super pregnant and I was about to have a baby like in 2 months. So I had that little 2-month break. Ma'am! And then I had Sissy, and then I breastfed her for a year. So at that point I had like 2 under 2 and I was ready to have a little independence. So yeah, definitely for the first 2 I was totally ready to wean. This time around I wasn't like as anxious to, but we are going to Las Vegas literally in a week and a half, and I felt the pressure in that sense. And then also I am going to be getting a tummy tuck and a like breast reduction, hopefully in January, like right after the holidays or something like that, around that time. So I knew that I had a like time crunch with her as far as like before the holidays because of like the surgery, but also I wanted to like be able to dry up and all of that before I went to my consultations, which I'm going to be doing the week of Thanksgiving. I'm going to be going to my consultations, so I'm really excited about that. And also to dry up my milk, I use cabbage leaves in my bra. I know it smells, and that's why I wear like a hoodie, so it's not as like potent, you know. Yeah, just a little side note if you didn't know how to dry up your milk. And I know like if you take Sudafed or something like that, that dries you up. I haven't tried that though, so don't take my word on that. Google. And hopefully you guys can find something that works for you. This was just my experience. I know that I just love watching different people. I just personally like watching different people's experiences and then taking things from each person to, you know, make it my own and see what works for me. So yeah, that's it guys. I'm super happy to be kind of closing the chapter on this. Also I do want to say that the first night that we started weaning her, I did cry a little and I felt, you know, kind of sad. This is our last baby, so I felt like, you know, I was being a little selfish and, you know, all those mom guilt feelings, ma'am. And yeah, so I'm fine now. My husband talked me down, but so thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Say bye bye. Look. Say bye bye. Say bye bye.